postcard. Sold in May 1st, 2023. Less than a year ago. $204.49. A bifold. Welcome back to SM Postcards. Today we have a bunch of cards sold. I sold 23 postcards, and we're going to go through theirs. And there's a bunch of multiple orders, and it goes along with the poll, because the poll I got in this video is, what is your largest postcard order sold to one buyer? And I put that out there, and people responded to that. But today I probably have one that's probably bigger than the others, but a lot of 2 and 3s, and you'll see where the average multiple order is and how I deal with those numbers. So we'll go to what sold, and then we got a special topic of a certain postcard: insane asylum postcards. Now there's different terms: insane asylums, sanatoriums, criminally insane. It's a topic of history is what it is. It's not a dig on the mental illness and stuff that's out there that plague us today with people that struggle with that. This is how they dealt with it in the history, and they took picture postcards of these in Europe and United States, but they can be very good sellers. And I'm going to break down the different terms and some history of insane asylums and what to look for. I get excited when I see those cards because people do collect them. At the end, I got a bunch of viewer comments to go through. I always stick to the end of the video where I ad-lib. These are comments come from email, YouTube, eBay, different places, and I just kind of give you my opinion on them. And there's one in there: what do I think about all the noise about eBay? What do I think about all this? So I'll go ahead and give you my opinion on it and what I think reaction videos and stuff do. Let's get started with these what's sold postcards. First one that's sold is Brant Lake, New York, Adirondack Mountains. It's just a linen card with a canoe and a lake. I think what sold it is Brant Lake, Adirondack. And this was posted in 1938. Just a linen card of Brant Lake. Next one, I put up a lot of hospitals. I bought a big lot of hospitals a while ago. Cleveland Clinic Foundation, Cleveland, Ohio. 1950 this was posted, and this sold for $688. Hospitals I always try to bump up like motels. That was $688. Probably sent an offer on it. Next one, I sold 2 cards. These were just unidentified real photo postcards that I had stacked up somewhere. Someone can go through and do the research and figure out where they are and stuff like that. Both of these cards sold for $12.07, so about a little over $5 a piece, probably $5-6. But this one is, let me see what this is. I really can't. Oh, it's a house. It's a house. There's the tree and there's the porch in winter. There's really nothing on there, and the stamp box is covered. So that one sold. And then this is just a river. Someone can probably go through and find that skyline somewhere and where that is. And no postmark or anything. So these are just unidentified ones that some collector or somebody can go through and do things. And I have a lot of those that I put up. I have a stack of them that are just unidentified. Take a little bit more research. And I usually don't do that. I sell them for a good price and people can make some money on them. Both of those sold for $12.07. Next one is Melvin Morrow. Baseball card. Postcard. $4.75. Another multiple order. 2 cards. The other one was 2 cards. This one is 2 cards. Same card. USS Helena CA-75. That's the name right there. Bought 2 of the prints. These are matte on front, matte on back, lighter cardstock. And he bought 2 of those for $9.50. I'm sold out of those cards now. Next one, this person bought 7 cards, and I just listed these the other night. A lot of people say, well, I don't want to list the same thing every day. Well, it's whatever is in my stack on my desk. I'm not a big sorter. I don't sort ahead of time. As I go to the next card, where I got into a bunch of Rocky Mount, North Carolina cards. They're nice, solid chrome cards. And this person bought 7 of them. And the total price was $34.41. Average about $4.91 per card. because they got a 15% discount. But would I wait and sell 7 cards together, individually, and try to get full price? Hey, I'll take the $34, $35 for it. But the first one is a city water tower, Rocky Mountain, and this is what they look like on the back. Nice condition, good card stock on these cards. They look like they're from the series of Rocky Mountain or something like that. That was the water tower. This is the municipal lake in Rocky Mountain. This is the First Baptist Church in Rocky Mountain. And this is Business Street scene in Rocky Mountain. All of these are unposted. This is the municipal swimming pool in Rocky Mountain. High school in Rocky Mountain. And Rick's Hotel, R-I-C-K apostrophe S, Rick's Hotel in Rocky Mountain. So they bought 7 cards for $35. I'll take that, no problem. 7 cards, I probably got 3 cents, 2 cents in there. What I got less than a quarter in those cards, and I got $35. That's how I like to do it. And that goes along with our poll today that I'm going to get into, is what is the largest postcard order you sold to one person? That was 7, and I had 2 2s. This is the D&H Canal, just a chrome card. Looks like a museum reprint of a picture, $4.75. Next one is $5.65 is what it sold for. It's South Boston, Massachusetts, L Street bathhouse. It's a bathhouse. Divided back, 1908. There's the line. Bathhouse, $5.65. Hotel Roanoke at night. Night scenes, linen cards. They do very well for me. 1943 posted. That sold for $4.75. Next one sold for $5.75. M.E. Church's Fishes Eddy, New York. An M.E. Church. Divided back, 1911 posted. Another church. Then I sold a Bowmark. It's a missile. Boeing Bowmark. A missile. Home card. Commercial. Done. Good condition. $4.75. Next one sold for $5.55. Entrance to Mountain Park Zoo. I think this is the zoo. Or Mountain Park. It's an entrance. Divided back. Right there. And that sold for $5.55. Then I sold 2 other cards together to one person. These are the neatest things. Coast Guard cutters. This is what they are. He bought both of these. This is the USCGC. USCGC is United States Coast Guard. Venturous, WMEC. So if it says WMEC, then it's usually the Coast Guard, is what I see on the numbers. And 625 is the number. Both of these sold $9.50. I have 85 of these cards in my box still, and I probably have some in the closet. So eBay's counting them down. The last card is a ship card, the USS De Haven DD-727. Very important to get those names and numbers in your titles. This is semi-gloss front, matte back. And those were printed out by that club that I purchased a couple of years ago. Thousands and thousands of ship cards is what I got. So they sell. But I had 23 cards sold, total price $123.44. Average sale price, if I take $123.44 divided by 23, I get $5.37 per card. So I work on an average for the month. My starting price most of the time is $4.75. I do send offers, that brings it down a little bit, but the average sale to price is for a month, 3 months, 6 months. I don't look at it every day because it fluctuates. But I also sold a lot of 100 postcards USA in the Ko-Fi store. Went out, and when you buy a lot of 100 cards, I throw in a pack of sleeves for every 100 cards. So if you buy 200 cards, you get 2 packs of sleeves. So you get the sleeves and the postcards. And I do refund shipping if it's not excessive. If it's excessive, so $8.50 and it's going to Indiana and only costs $5, you're going to get a few dollars back. I usually look about $2, $2.50. If it's around there, I don't refund the shipping. But if it's over that and you buy a lot of stuff, Ko-Fi doesn't have a lot of the whistles and bells that eBay has for shipping. I just got to put a flat rate in there, so I got to cover myself going to California, Hawaii, and stuff like that. So a lot of times people do get refunds if they buy a lot of multiple stuff, and I refund the shipping to whatever my cost. I'm not looking to make a lot of money on Ko-Fi. It's for resellers. But this person is a member, and if you're a member at the white border or divided back level in Ko-Fi, you get 40% off. 100 postcards, if he sold all of those for average sale price of $5, that's $500. He only has to sell 10 cards to make his money back and more. So that's what I have. I have about 40 lots in there as of this time doing this video. So go check Ko-Fi. I'll put the link down here. And it's got sleeves. I got all different things, and I go as low as I can. I got to pay the little fees and stuff like that, and then replenish the stock. I probably over the last year and a half spent more money on building up the stock in the store than making any money on Ko-Fi. But it all helps to the channel, and it's for resellers. And I do put some auction finds once in a while. When I go to an auction, I'll buy something and put it in there for resellers. Just basically almost at the cost I got it for, because I'm not going to sell it, but somebody else might want to, if I get a good deal on it. That's what's sold. Now let's get into this topic of insane asylums. I've sold some of these cards for really good money. These are ones that I don't pass up. When I see them, I set them to the side. What I comp them for, I usually go higher, because people want this history. It's something that should never have been done, but we learned from it, as you'll see here in the history. But I got about 3 or 4 paragraphs to talk about the history of insane asylums, and then I'm going to get into criminally insane asylum term, and then sanatoriums, and kind of break that down a little bit, because those are the 3 cards that confuse me once in a while, is insane asylums, criminally insane asylums, and sanatoriums. For some reason it doesn't click sometimes. So in this video I wanted to dig down and get that stamped in my head, what the difference is, because sanatoriums don't do as well as insane asylums. Criminally insane and insane asylums do well, but it seems like insane asylums have been done best for me. But while I talk about this history, I'm going to show you some postcards that I found of insane asylums out there. Here we go. Insane asylums, also known as mental hospitals or psychiatric institutions, have long and complex history that dates back centuries. In the past, people with mental illness were often misunderstood and stigmatized, leading to harsh and inhumane treatments. The concept of insane asylums began to take shape in the 18th century when European countries established institutions to care for and treat individuals with mental illness. These early asylums were often overcrowded and lacked proper medical care, but they marked a shift towards providing some level of specialized care for those with mental health conditions. In the 19th century, there was a significant expansion of insane asylums in Europe and the United States. This was driven by the growing awareness of the need for better mental health care and a desire to segregate individuals with mental illnesses from the general population. Unfortunately, conditions in these asylums varied widely, and many patients continued to face mistreatment and neglect. It wasn't until the late 19th century and early 20th century that reforms and advancements in psychiatric care started to improve the conditions in these institutions, emphasizing more humane treatments and therapy. As the 20th century progressed, there was a shift away from the large, isolated asylums toward community-based mental health care, which began in the mid-20th century, aimed to reintegrate individuals with mental illness into society and provide treatment in less restrictive settings. While this had positive outcomes for many, it also brought challenges related to funding and the availability of mental health services. Today, the history of insane asylums serves as a reminder of society's evolving understanding of mental health and the ongoing need for compassionate and effective mental health care. It's a struggle. Mental illness can tear apart families. It controls the individual. I've dealt with a lot of it over my lifetime, seeing people Now, some of the people I did not do well were people that had social issues. They couldn't get along with people and stuff like that. Those people needed more help, and back then it probably wasn't available or it wasn't diagnosed, and they were just sheltered away. There's two terms here, or three terms, but the terms criminally insane asylum and insane asylum are both outdated and have been largely replaced by more modern and humane terminology and approaches in the field of mental health care. Leaps and bounds. Insane asylums were institutions established in the 18th and 19th centuries to house and treat individuals with mental illnesses, often very primitive and inhumane conditions. They didn't take care of them. They just put them in the rooms and every day, stuff like that. We've seen pictures. There were some really good ones, I think, out there, but that's what the insane asylums were. Criminally insane asylums were specialized institutions that were designed to house and treat individuals who were both mentally ill and committed criminal acts. They're a harm to society, and some people are like that, and those people need to be treated differently than just the mental illness ones struggling every day, in my terms. I'm not an expert on all this, but there's a term, sanatorium is one term in insane asylums. I always get mixed up. So I'm going to walk through here on 3 things for sanatoriums and 3 things for insane asylums and what the differences between the two are, and then I'll give you a summary. So a sanatorium, the purpose. Sanatoria were medical facilities primarily dedicated to treating chronic diseases, especially tuberculosis in the early 1900s. Now, insane asylums, also known as mental asylums or psychiatric hospitals, the purpose of them were institutions designed to care for and treat individuals with mental illness or psychiatric disorders. So one was medically diseases, the other one was mental illness, was the purpose of them. Then a sanatorium, the patients in the sanatorium mainly housed individuals suffering from TB or other respiratory illnesses. Tuberculosis, my father had it. He didn't die from that, but he would get the scars and the disease in there and stuff. We had to be tested back then. He picked it up, I'm not for sure where. He was immune deficient and stuff like that. But I remember the TB. The focus was on providing rest, fresh air, and a healthy environment to aid recovery is what a sanatorium was. In an insane asylum, the patients accommodated individuals with various mental health conditions ranging from severe disorders like schizophrenia and bipolar disorder to mood disorders, depression, and anxiety. So one was a disease in the sanatorium that they treated, and the other one was mental illness. Then the treatments in a sanatorium and an insane asylum. The treatment in a sanatoria focused on rest, proper nutrition, exposure to fresh air and sunlight, and sometimes experimental therapies specific to the disease being treated. I think that Kellogg guy did something like that. The Kellogg cereal thing, I think. Dr. Kellogg had those sanatoriums. I think that's what that was. Then the treatment in an insane asylum varied widely depending on the prevailing theories. I mean, you got to have data. You can have theories, but you got to prove those theories, and then you got to put them into action and practices of the time. Historically, treatments could include confinement, restraint, electric therapy, shock therapy, psychotropic medications, and sometimes experimental or controversial procedures. So I think these people were mistreated back in those days in the insane asylums, and it's probably more, if you could afford to go to a sanatorium back in the day too, I think that maybe on the upper class a little bit more there, just from what I know. But in summary, between a sanatorium and asylum, while both types of these institutions provide specialized care for specific health conditions, their focuses, patient populations, and treatment approaches were quite different, as we saw. Sanatoria primarily addressed physical illnesses, while insane asylums focused on mental health disorders. Additionally, the treatment, philosophies, and practice within these institutions often reflected the prevailing medical and social attitudes of their respective areas. So remember, you got sanatorium, insane asylum, and criminally insane asylum. Those are the three things I see on postcards a lot. Sanatoriums did medical diseases, insane asylums treated mental illness, and criminally insane are for people with mental illness and that could be a harm to society or committed criminal acts. Those are the three. The top one that I have had best luck with selling for a good price is insane asylums. The criminally insane sell, but the insane asylums have been the best. And you saw some of those pictures. But do they sell? How many cards are moving through the eBay system? That's what sell-through rate does. Little chart in my head. Everybody knows what red means. It means no, stop. 0 to 3%. QSL cards, Cypress cards, Niagara Falls. Stay away from them. Sell-through rate's too low. You can list them. They probably could sell, but you're going to have a better chance selling some of the greens. I work in the 4 to 10% area, the average and the high. And then while I'm looking for those, I do pick up some reds by accident. Just don't know sometimes, and they can't know everything. But I also find some of the really good cards, like insane asylums. Let's take a look at that. How I calculate sell-through rate is I take the sold, I go into eBay, I type postcard insane asylum. I click sold, which hits completed. I'm not looking for the last card. It's not going to change my thought. I'm looking for a range. I'm looking through a box of cards at a postcard show, and I got 20 booths to go through. I don't have time to comp every card. I just want to know what's my chance of picking something up. And that's how I come up with that. So I take the sold, which is completed, divided by how many are listed. I unclick the sold and completed, and it gives me a number. I try to take out some of the things, plates and forks and stuff that come out of these things. But I don't spend a lot of time. I just want a range. That's why I use a range. Then I times it by 100 to get a percent, and I round up or down. Insane Asylum, there was 222 sold, 750 listed, 30% sell-through rate. Off the chart. Off the chart. 11% plus is a very high card. So 30% is up there. Now, you got to bump it up against other things to see if that 30% kind of falls in the ballpark, keeps it normal. That's pretty high. So is this normal? Postcard criminally insane. I didn't put asylum and all that in there because it wouldn't fit on the page. There's only 4 of them out there that had that in the title, and 11 that sold and 11 listed. Times by 100 is 36%. So the data here goes against what I've experienced. It says criminally insane is selling more than insane, but it's only 6% difference. So they're both good cards to pick up. Then you got insane asylum, 30%. So I think the 30% is true, 25, 35, around in there. So I know these are good cards. It's in the dark green. They're getting picked up if I get them for a good price. Then you got clinic. I just put other things. Clinic is 5%. That probably falls into the hospital world. But then I did hospital, 5%. So hospital and clinics are going 5%, but when you get into the insane asylum stuff, look at the jump. They just jump right up. So these are definitely cards for sell-through rate. They're going to sell. If you get them priced right and they're good condition, I sit on them. I think I got a couple in there right now. I'm just sitting on. I sold one. I paid a nickel for it. I sold it for $75, $80. I think I got a little short video on that card, but I just sold one the other day. I think it was a sanatorium for pretty good money compared to what I paid for it. But let's look at some extreme pricing, is what I call it. It's when I look at the high stuff, I throw out the real high stuff. I start looking for the consistent high stuff, the average, and I throw out the low 99-cent auctions and stuff like that. And I look for the highest one, not stuff we see every day, but not the real high ones. I got 4 of them here. And I found them in WorthPoint better than I did with the search on eBay when I did this. But the first one here was Danvers. It's a bifold. It means it's a postcard that folds open. So twofold. There's quad folds, there's 4-fold, 3-folds. This is a bifold. Double wide postcard. Sold in May 1st, 2023. Less than a year ago. $204.49. A bifold. I usually pass those on to somebody else. They don't fit in the boxes real well for me. but $205. Then you got Northampton, Maine postcard, Insane Asylum, right in the title. Sold in November 2022, $152. Middletown, New York, superintendent home of an insane asylum. I put this one on here because that's the superintendent's home of an insane asylum. $104.50. Over $100 average. Definitely. Then you also have these hospital. I threw in, actually usually I only do 3, but I had to throw this one in here. This is the Middletown, New York State Hospital baseball team. That thing has got everything you're looking for on a postcard. It's got the baseball, it's got the team, it's got the state hospital, it's got Middletown, New York. It's old. $406, and that's sold in July of 2023. So these, take your time with them. I always do, because they're different things. I always price them up. I go for 6 months. I'll just throw it high, not crazy high, but I'll go higher than comps here. So if I see a Northampton, Maine postcard Insane Asylum for $152, and that's averaging $130 to $140, I'll throw it up for $160. I won't even put best offer on it, and I'll just sit on it. And sometimes they go, then sometimes I go back and look at my high price ones and I lower it a little bit. But I check the market. I don't put them in auctions. I haven't had good luck on auctions. I've had some cards that I thought did really good. I'd get a quarter of what I could have done with Buy It Now. But if you look across all these here, you got 2 over $100. You got one $200 and one $400. Crazy money for cards you can pick up in boxes for $1. People miss these. Back to earth. Change the channel. These are sold high. This is what we see a lot of out there. The other ones probably real photos, different things. But I think some of these you could probably get a few extra dollars for. It just depends how many out there, what the status of it is, and the demand. But these 3, the first one was Men's Balcap McLean Mental Hospital, Waverly, Massachusetts Insane Asylum, $41. Might be an undivided back because it's got a writing tab on the bottom there. $41 in an auction. Our real photo, Bridgewater, Massachusetts Insane Asylum State Hospital, $37, auction, 18 bids. The first one was an auction, got 4 bids. I think they could have got more if they kind of waited on it and Buy It Now. You never know. People tend to go both ways, auctions, Buy It Now and stuff. Sometimes you can win. I would rather just, I'm a Buy It Now person. I got away from auctions. But some people, they like auctions. Then Port Chester, Van Buren Mental Hospital, Sanatorium. This is a sanatorium. And I put that in there just to show you there's, remember, insane asylums, criminally insane asylums, and sanatoriums are the normal things I see. And I always get confused with sanatoriums and insane asylums. I think I got gold when I see a sanatorium, and I forget that it's an insane asylum. You don't see them that often. Most of them are picked out or found. You find them in a lot of private collections, antique malls, or stuff like that. But people kind of tend to know the price goes up. So you're going to pay probably a little bit more for those. But if you can get money like this out of it, what's the top price you'd pay for it to get your money back? But this one sold for $30, $29.50, and it was a Buy It Now for a sanatorium. So those are also good cards. So again, insane asylums, criminally insane asylums, and sanatoriums. You see those, good price, pick them up. They're going to be in the top green, and you got a better chance of selling those. Now, not guaranteeing a sale. Depends what you do with them and stuff like that. Again, mental illness is getting better. I think they have a long way to go. It's destructive to families, individuals, and stuff like that. But if you know anybody with that needs help, there's help out there for people. But this is history of what they did in years past, and it's progressing better now. We have a lot of institutions, we have places. One out east of me, they actually had them in an institution, but now they have little group homes. And then there's a state hospital, been here forever, along the river, and they've done more homes and stuff like that. I know people, my brother worked there, both my brothers worked there at one time, and some people I know, but they've done a lot better over the years. They've closed some of them around here too in the 80s and stuff, the institutionalized. But if you know anybody that needs help, there's help out there. Insane asylums, don't pass them up. Part of history. Who knew? Now I'm going to get into the poll. This is an interesting poll, and I put out a couple times a year just to get a feel about how multiple cards in an order. And I said, what is the largest postcard order you have had to one buyer? The top one was 2 to 10 cards. And with what I've seen in past polls, that's about right. And I'll tell you how I would use these numbers on there. But 57% sell 2 to 10 cards. That's normal for me. I get some big ones, but those don't. That's the 100-year flood. I don't bake my business on that big order. I get the, like you saw today, 2, 7, 5, 3, a lot of those types of cards. Then the next one was over 31 postcards, 15%, and then 11 to 20 is 13%, and 21 to 30, 13%. How I would look at this, when you look at numbers like this, a lot of people want to bank their business on the big order. You know, my highest I've sold, I think it was over 200 cards, if I remember right. It was a guy that came in and wanted a certain publisher, and I said, I don't list in the item specifics the publisher name, Dexter Press, Kurtike, and stuff like that. You're going to have to go through and find them if you want them, and then we'll talk about a deal. He did. A couple days later, he came back. He knew exactly what he was looking for. A lot of them were white border cards, like Cushman, or I forgot what the name of it was, but it was a $300, $400 order or something like that. I gave him a real good price on them. You know, might as well move 200 cards. But I've sold 50 cards, 70 cards, 100 cards, 90 cards, 20 cards, and stuff like that. That's what I bake my business on, is the 2 to 10. Exactly right here. Those other big orders just don't come consistently enough to say it's part of the business. Those are nice to haves, is how I would look at this number. So how can I get multiple orders? First thing to do is be consistent with the titles and what your name and stuff. So people like Rocky Mount, people pick that up. They saw that in there. Categories in your store. Put all the states in there and make sure you categorize your postcards. So when people are looking for Louisiana, they don't have to hunt through 10,000 cards to see them. They can go to that category and just keep searching, click buy, click buy, click buy. I think that can help. And also volume discounts. You want to check my video on volume discounts. So I have discounts if you buy 3 or more, 4 or more. I think it's 4 or more, you get 15% off. Heck yeah. I'll take the little hit to get people buying 4 cards. I get that with the boat cards, the naval ship cards a lot. People will come in and they'll buy 10 ship cards of the same type because they're sending to their friends or buddies they serve with or whatever, or they're going to a convention and want to bring them. They'll buy 10, 20 cards. They get 15% off. I got pennies in these things. Sure, move cards is the goal, quantity. But a couple people responded. Tim Fleener said his number is 30, all from individual listings. I wasn't doing lots here. I was doing individual different cards that you didn't put up as a lot, but you sold it to one person. Like my boats, I have multiple quantity of 1 card, but I didn't sell them as a lot, and they went in and bought 10. They're all from individual listings, not a mixed lot. I love customers who buy multiples at once. Always makes my day. Yeah, those days, smiles to the bank. Just the other day, I had somebody come in and buy $84 worth of Hawaiian cards. I would say 75% of those were Continentals, Hawaii cards, and $84. I think it was 20 cards or something. I forgot what it was, but the price per card came out fine, and I got $84. Then Boldly Grow, thanks Tim. Then Boldly Grow Pictures Chris. I've had a sale with 14 animals and another with 14 South postcards. So he's in the ballpark. That's where you get those orders in there and stuff. Thanks Chris. And Biff Buffalo. This is a good one, Biff. 100 for about $1,000 last year. $10 a piece. Boy, I wish those would come in here and there, but knowing Biff, he doesn't bank his business on that one order. He's not going to make or break his business. Just knowing what I've seen of Biff with his numbers and how he does things, this is a nice to have for Biff. He probably sells a lot of other stuff in quantity, but these types of sales just add fuel to the fire for you. and stuff like that. But thanks, but that would be a great sale. Polls. Still looking for anybody got any questions you want me to put out there in 2024? I got room. Just send it to contact@SMPostcards.com. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the little bell icon and that little thing in the corner here so you're notified when these come out. These come out around 9 to 10 a.m. every Saturday. I have polls. There is some polls that I did a couple years ago. I'm going to start putting them back out and just see if there's a difference to then and now with the people we have. But thanks everybody for participating. Remember, if you vote on a poll, I have no idea. It just changes the number. I have no idea who voted where. But if you leave a comment, it has your name in it. And I consider that public. Just like with the viewer comments we're going to get into. If you leave a comment in YouTube, I consider it public because it has your username and you put it out there. If you send me an email to contact@SMPostcard.com, I treat it more privately. And please try not to send me any messages in eBay. Use the email, comment, and videos, and I can do a lot more. eBay is restrictive on what I can put in there. But I got 4 viewer comments. They'll go pretty quick here. The last one is about eBay, people complaining about eBay, so you want to stick around for that. But first one is from Xer2Xer. I think I said that right. Hello, great content. Here's a new follower. Thank you for subscribing. I just wonder if you scan your trading cards with the scanner and if there's any issues. Thanks, events. I wrote back to Xer and said no, I've never had an issue putting any card or anything there. The only time I damaged something I put in the scanner was too light a paper, or I didn't see that it was a bifold, or I just shoved too many in there. The curve is kind of straight down on the Epsons. You get some scanners if it's got too much of a loop, you just got to check. But I told them I've never had an issue. But I would check your trade card. I would take a trade card, a lower value one, and put it through just there. But I'll put a stack of them. I got a bunch of garbage pail kid cards, about 100 or 80 to 100 of them. I just stacked them in there, and they all fit in the hopper, and boom, 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 boom. Photos. I never have a problem. Even regular paper I print for business documents, put it in there. It's not going to destroy that in there, so I don't see a problem with that. Not saying that something could happen, but 99.9% of the time I've never had an issue. Thanks, Xer. And Sergeant Rock. So we talked about 2 main things that help productivity in selling postcards. If you're going to get into it, is what you want to strive for. As you start selling stuff, you want to reduce your time you're spending on shipping and scanning and using your camera, your flatbed scanner, which is slow as heck. You want to get to the point where you're getting a thermal printer to do eBay standard envelope and thermal printer labels, learn about that, and also a duplex scanner. You can find the 400s now brand new for like $250 or something. I forgot what the price is, but you can find them on eBay and stuff like that. And they're workhorses. The Epson 402s, they work on it. I got the 580 wireless one now, which is great, but that you don't need to spend that money if you can get a 400 that does the same thing. I scan at 400 DPI. I'm not touching up photos and stuff, but sometimes that can be too much of an expense for people trying to get going and stuff like that at first. Use your camera at first on your phone until you figure out this is what you want to do. Buy your first 1,000 cards, list your first 1,000 cards, ship, pack, get your inventory together, and then start putting money away to get a scanner. Or Sergeant Rock here, 754, says, I bought a duplex scanner by PayPal and was able to pay in 4 payments. So some people can't just go out and buy. I understand that. And one, they don't want to, or they don't want to put that money out, the $300 out at once. Different people are in different stages of life, and someone just don't want to. I don't like putting $300 out, which made it easier to afford. I'm so glad I did. My life is so much easier with it. Same thing, those 2 items, thermal printer and scanners. People will stand up on a desk and tell you they're not changing, but once they change, they'll say, why didn't I do this before? Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Selling postcards have been done for a long time. Thermal printers and scanner will make your life easier. You just got to learn how to use them. Don't be afraid. They're not hard. Not hard at all. They're kind of set and forget. And I have if you get an Epson, scanner, the 400 or 580, I have the settings for you. So open the box, get that documents in Ko-Fi. They're free. Go set your settings and forget. You don't have to change them. And so far, the ones I put out there, no one's come back to me and said I should change something. So it's still working for me, and it's working for a lot of other people, and they're free. So don't feel bad about it, but come up with creative ways like Sergeant here to get the stuff you need for your business without breaking the bank. You know, you got other expenses going on right now. You can't afford it. You got Christmas coming up. You got birthdays. Tell them to give you an Amazon card and stuff like that. Or start asking around. Look at garage sales. I've known people have picked them up at garage sales. Thanks, Sergeant. Then Biff Buffalo come in and talked about, I did a mutoscope. The little machines used to crank and to flip and put a quarter in back in the day, and it looked like animation. And then when it was time over, the slide go down, you couldn't see it, then you put another quarter in. Those are mutoscope cards. But Mutoscope also made postcards, and I have that video I did about there. And Biff does a lot of ephemera and stuff like that. I don't know a lot about Mutoscope cards and some of that stuff, and I'm glad Biff jumped in here and give us his experience with Mutoscope. My best Mutoscope products are blotters and pinup art. They are generally less than half the size of postcards. Nothing else from Mutoscope is really worth the effort unless you get the actual cards for the machines. So right there it tells you that they're not gold and stuff like that. I don't have a lot of them. There's not a lot out there of Mutoscope postcards, but Biff has experience, and he has a large store and he sells a lot and he's full time. So he's a little nugget right there. Thanks for the tip, Biff. Now the last question, I hate digging into this stuff. I hate going down these things, but I got so many questions about this. Everyone is complaining about eBay sales low. What do you think about selling on eBay? Kind of a very broad question. I got this in an email from people, and the other emails come in too. What do you think about the errors on eBay? What do you think about them doing this? I just go with the flow. I'm not the martyr. There's enough people out there pounding the drums and stuff. My sales level is set to an average. I'm not looking to be the top or the bottom, but I have enough money set to the side. If they have a glitch or sales go down a little bit, I'm fine. If it goes up, it's great. But I'm not going to get up here and complain about slow sales. It's whatever comes in. Every business. I mean, when I ran the restaurants for a corporation, Monday and Tuesday, Wednesdays were our slowest days. Sunday after dinner on Sunday, all the way to Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we cut staff. We didn't staff up, but Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, especially Friday, Saturday, and Sunday mornings, all the way through the days, we were focused on just dealing with customers, so we didn't have sales on certain days. Stores the same way. You walk in during Christmas, they're busier. Mondays are slower. People aren't out, but out on the weekends and stuff, people get out. The weather. I remember one time when the Bears were winning the Super Bowl and stuff, and I was in the Chicagoland area for this restaurant chain that I was a general manager at that time. There was a big call we had to get on, and they told everybody to cut staff. Managers are to be cooking, and one waitress or whatever, cut your staff by almost 75% when the Bears played that game. Now you could bring people back in afterwards, but our restaurant was dead. I mean, there were Super Bowl parties and all that stuff back then. So whenever there was stuff like that, we cut staff. So it's not all eBay. There's so many variables that go into this stuff. Now, if you're pricing $5 cards at $50 and you got hundreds of them up there and they're not selling, that's a different issue. But eBay has issues. I'm not saying they don't, but it's across the board. People are doing all these hacks and stuff like that. I talked to one person the other day. He wanted me to look. I don't do store reviews, but he's a friend. Sells a lot of stuff. He sells postcards and he sells a lot of other different things. He's not full-time. He does it part-time, but he wants to go full-time. And I was talking to him, and I said, I really don't know the stuff you're selling. Clothes and shoes and, he sells glass and I said, where's your toys? Oh, I don't do toys. I could tell more about that probably, or postcards. But he goes, how many have you sold today? He goes, let me look. He goes, well, I got 5 in there I sold the other day, but I don't have to ship them out until Thursday. Today was Monday. I go, why aren't those shipped out yet? Well, eBay, I set my handling time out. I don't have to send it out. I said, so you have time to talk to me, and you're off today, but you're going to wait till Thursday to ship this item. So you're pleasing eBay instead of pleasing the customer. So there's so much out there, and the moral of that little story is a lot of people are trying to please eBay with everything they do when they're forgetting about the customer, is what I see. So he's waiting 3 days to ship something because eBay tells him he doesn't have to, when he could get it out today and the customer would be happy. So that's just what I know. But what do I think about selling on eBay? It's the best platform out there. There's no, for postcards, there's 90% of the people sell postcards on eBay. I've tried all the other ones. I sell more on eBay than that. It's a platform. They have issues, but they all do. But check those insane asylums with the show and tell. If you've sold any of those insane asylums, hospitals, or anything like that, it's a market I always target. Send it in the show and tell and comment at SMPostcards.com, and I'll use it in the title just to show what's out there. You don't have to tell me where you got it or whatever. I would love to see the higher price cards like that were sold that we can find out there. Now, some of the real photos and stuff are harder to find, but a lot of these insane asylums were produced, a lot of them, and they still sell pretty well. That's all I got for today. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.